I want to thank Linda for inviting me to come today and to present to you here. I've met Linda on numerous occasions this past year in Banff, when we had our Banff Indian Days, when we had our commemorative service for the McDougall United Church, the historic church in Morley, when we had our commemoration for the McDougall Cairn at the north end of the city here, and always found her to be a bright light for our community and a blessing to see her when she shows to these events and to offer her words of encouragement and hope. And my name is Tony Snow. I come from the Stoney Nakoda First Nation. My father was the late Dr. Reverend Chief John Snow. He was an ordained minister in the United Church. He was the first ordained minister for Alberta and from our community as well. An Indigenous minister, he taught throughout his life on the importance of Indigenous thought, Indigenous theology, and our way of life as an important parallel to the teachings of Christianity. I come from the Stoney First Nation of Morley, Alberta. Our traditional term for the Calgary region is Wichaspa Oyade, which refers to the bend in the Elbow River, which is a historic gathering place. We have a long history in this place and a strong connection to the mountains in our area. Our name that we call ourselves is Yarhe Nakoda, or Yethkabi, simply meaning the people, or the Rocky Mountain Sioux, or people of the mountains. My father wrote a book about the Stoney people entitled These Mountains Are Our Sacred Places, about our connectedness to the mountain ranges. And throughout our territory, there are traditional names from our people for places as far north as northern Alberta and the Northwest Territories, and as far south as the mountains of Colorado and Utah. And our people would travel along these ranges and have names and histories and legends about each part of it. When the Europeans first arrived here as explorers, we met Robert Rundle and others and welcomed them to our lands. They were converted to Christianity in the 1860s through the work of the Indigenous Methodist missionary Henry Bird Steinhauer, an ordained Ojibwe minister who had been educated in Eastern Canada, in Ontario, and converted to Christianity. He was sent out to form missions in Alberta and Western Canada and established the first 4 missions in Alberta in what is now Goodfish Lake, Saddle Lake, Morley, and Musquetees. These churches still stand today. These congregations are still active today. And they are a testament to that teaching that he brought to us. And in our oral tradition, we talk about Henry Bird as instructing the people when he came to convert the Stoney people. He offered the Bible and said, "Here's a good book. Take from it what you will. Learn from it, and it can help your people." This insight delivered in an invitation to delve into Christian theology, to take part and contend with Christian European thought from our own perspective. This was different from many other Indigenous peoples' experience of Christianity. In many communities, Indigenous people were assimilated, told to give up their traditions, teachings, and practices, to take up the ways and teachings of the non-Indigenous immigrants. Many were subjected to abuse, many were subjected to violence and trauma and addiction from our earliest interactions. The Stoney story is a little different. As the Central United Church, in its archives in a book that you have here, records how Reverend Rundle worked with the Stoney people. He delivered sermons and services in Assiniboine. He delivered marriage services in Assiniboine. And so he had taken that step to learn the language, to become part of the community, and to administer as he saw fit in the language of the people. in their mother tongue. Rundle worked progressively with my people. And so we welcome the non-Indigenous Methodist missionaries, as my great-grandfather, Jonas Goodstoney, brought the McDougall family from the mission at Pigeon Lake safely into Morley in the 1870s, at a time when many missionaries were losing their lives crossing Blackfoot territory. Over the years, a strong relationship was developed to the point that Reverend John McDougall assisted our treaty negotiations, and at the establishment of Fort Calgary, when the government instituted a plan to hunt the buffalo to extinction, John McDougall warned the Stoney people, their friends, that this was going to happen so that they could prepare for the change in their diet and survive. This does not preclude some of the challenges and some of the bad things that happen, but it gives us a testament to the willingness of a positive relationship to grow. Today I stand a direct heir of the treaty signatories, along with my family and my brother Bill, who was the chairman of the All Tribes Presbytery here in Calgary, in Alberta, which is now changing into our new regional format. We are here seeking a better relationship with our non-Indigenous partners here in the United Church and with citizens of Calgary. And to this end, I have been appointed the new board director, along with others in the McDougall Mission Society. From our scripture, it says, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." We all know the lesson, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." Jesus spoke these words at the Sermon on the Mount, a guidance that we should not remain insular and aloof towards one another, but we should embrace the measure of ourselves by the good works that portend our community. Today, as we celebrate a centennial of armistice, when the possibility of worldwide peace was negotiated for the first time, a peace agreed upon, proclaimed, and enacted, a peace given life, given prayer, given reverence and holiness, let us remember the value of a solemn, meaningful, prayerful peace. This gives us an insight into what is possible. It gives us a model that reflects into the teachings of Jesus to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. To do that, Jesus says, love the Lord as the first commandment. Not love of the Lord or love at the Lord, but love the Lord. That which you know as Creator, as Father, Mother, Being, in our Stoney way, Wakantanka, Great Spirit, Great Mystery. The one from whom all things flow. Know Him, know her. Know that. And shape your love by being knowledgeable, intentional, to know fully and wisely the Lord in which you put your faith. And love the Lord with the fullest knowledge and understanding, to the best of your capacity. That is the path of wisdom. To test yourself in your understanding with all your heart and with all the understanding, with all the strength, as Jesus tells the scribes. We talk about this way of our fallen, those that we are proud of, those that show the capacity for exceptional living and sacrifice, those who live in a direct way that hears the call and goes forth. Joe Bousset from our reserve, as a veteran, a fallen veteran, felt this way. He was our only member of the tribe to sign up in World War II. He did so in secret because he didn't want his family to stop him. He did so because he felt called to help defend a country he barely knew, to do his part. He felt the call and went forward. We had another individual named Tom LaBelle who took part in the First World War, and Charlie Rabbit, who joined the Navy. Today in California, while we were hearing and seeing horrific images and news reports, we know that there are heroes doing their part. We know that they need our love and support and understanding to do our part and give and help and go forth. Love your neighbor as yourself. This intentional love, this love of our neighbor, love of God, is not only love of others, of people in need, a neighbor outside ourselves. It is the love of ourself, the love of our humanity that guides us and nurtures us and gives us hope. Love of self not as grandiose gesture of our own ingenuity or acumen, but a humble, learning, wanting love that accepts the learnings we glean and by filling the hopes we need. As our elders would say, learn the truth about the Creator in every leaf and every rock. Listen to and feel and be part of creation, and you will know your part that is to play. An invitation to join in creation's song. 20 years ago, on October 28th, 1988, the United Church issued an apology to the Indigenous people for their treatment that lasted generations of negative stereotypes and discrimination. This was an attempt to right the wrongs and pave the road to reconciliation. For my reserve, for many like it, this apology was never heard. It was unheard from our pulpit. And over the years, very little changed from it. Love your neighbor as yourself is a practice. Jesus tells us many times that bringing ourselves into accord with one another is the most important lesson, one that he tried to bring amongst the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes, and the Gentiles. His mission was a ministry of community, one that went beyond family ties or one's beliefs. His ministry brings us back to our shared humanity, our shared diversity, and our shared potential. The lesson of reconciliation is the key to how we form relationships in this land and how we will move forward in shared community with one another. It is a lesson we must learn if we are to coexist in a multi-ethnic, multiracial community of people. As I visit a number of churches in my journey, I'm letting them know of the urban Indigenous ministry that I am forming and coordinating with the help of St. Andrews, Hillhurst, and McDougall United. As the Indigenous lead at Hillhurst and the newly elected board of the McDougall Historical Society, our efforts to develop an ongoing urban Indigenous ministry to outreach, provide education and lessons on reconciliation is an important part of the work of the church. And as it works to respond to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to actions. With my travels to the various churches within the city, I hope to play a small part in helping that dialogue. And I thank you for your time.